And I think, the insurance product, I think it's a little too commoditized, but you're really a service, right?
Yes.
That's what you're doing, right? We don't, what we sell, you can't really touch.
Right. Yeah.
It's not
a
tangible.
promise. It's a feeling that
Exactly.
are you covered? Are you good? From you, it's like, are we protected?
Definitely.
Right. Yeah.
But then who's the service provider? It's the people.
Yeah.
So we got to take care of the people. So for me, especially with our team now and the talent that we've been able to recruit and kind of how the team's vibing, it's just, that makes me feel like I'm doing something right when people are growing, they're advancing, they're starting families.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have baby showers in our office. It seems like every other week.
And you guys are having a good time.
Definitely.
Like, and that's not a bad, like sometimes it's like, oh, you're just playing. It's like, no, if you're doing something so well, it's kind of like being a professional athlete. Like when they go out on the field, they feel like they're playing.
Yeah.
Because you've done the preparation, and now it's time to execute, and you have all your key players. I mean, I've seen just from marketing, from everything, you guys are firing on all cylinders. And once you do, it's like, now let's go win.
Hey guys, welcome to the Next Level Living podcast. I'm your host, Summer Blazer, with my co-host, Corey Neubauer. We have an exciting guest today, Mr. Steve Tinnelly. Welcome.
Thank you guys. This is awesome.
We are excited to have you.
Yeah, Next Level Pocket. This is a next level studio that you guys have.
You like? Yes. We're trying to do this
incredible.
right. Yes.
You're definitely taking yourself seriously. I love it.
We're trying.
Yeah, right.
We're trying.
Right.
Well, we appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
We've had a few attorneys on already, but I think you're the most charismatic, I would say.
Oh, okay,
So
on.
we're going to set the bar. We're going to set the bar high with you.
Steve, how did you even get started in the HOA space?
Yeah, that's a crazy one. So the founding partner of our firm, Rich Tinnelly, is my dad. He started in this space. I remember he found this area of law and was working for a firm, and they decided to close the HOA division, and they gave him the green light to take whatever clients, and he decided to bet on himself and start his own practice.
How many years ago was that?
Gosh, that was 1989.
How cool is
Yeah, 1989. He was doing that. And I remember my mom was his legal secretary. She was a paralegal before that. And he was working out of his bedroom. I remember, she would have to come downstairs and say, silence the dog, Steven, dad's on the call right now. And then, got in office and started building things and was running it for about 20 years. And I was blessed. He put me through undergrad. I went through business school and then decided to go to law school and started working for one of those mega firms, those big corporate firms.
Yes.
And found out pretty quickly that, my wife and I, we just got married. We wanted to start a family, have a bunch of kids, and just that work schedule. I said, there's got to be something else. I really wasn't that enamored with what I was doing.
You've definitely done the family thing. We want to talk about that too.
Oh, yeah.
How many kids do we have?
4 kids now, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 kids.
And it's great to hear that story because that's what this HOA space is. It's small business that really is still in the business, taking care of clients. And the fact that you say he started in the bedroom, right?
Yeah.
And does that. I mean, we see that in this space so much that there's these small businesses that are still, the owner is in the business every day doing the work. And you're a testament of that, like second generation.
Yeah, multi-generational. It's awesome. I mean, one thing when I was like, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer, and then I kind of wasn't enamored, and Rich, my dad, was like, hey, why don't you come work with me until you figure out what you want to do. And one thing I remember and I value to this day and kind of gives me some perspective, especially now that I'm a father. I mean, growing up, I had kids that had parents that were lawyers, but my dad, the difference is he was at every ball game.
Oh,
see.
That's a huge difference.
He was available, right?
Yeah.
So I knew that's kind of what we wanted to do, especially because my wife and I, we wanted to have a bunch of kids to figure that out. So, so I came in and my dad he built the firm, and there was, I think, 5 or 6 people at the time. And it was great. He had a loyal group of clients, but I came in and kind of put that business degree to work, see what I can do to kind of expand on things. And that was a real motivator for me. I enjoy growing things and building things. And we got to work, and he was incredibly gracious. I mean, practically right out the gate, even though some of the people that had been there, actually all 3 attorneys that were working with him at the time ended up retiring from the firm. The most recent was Terry Morris this year, 23 years. Bruce Kermod, 22 years. Jeff Hilton, I think, was 23 years as well. So they'd seen me grow up from a little kid, and all of a sudden I'm their new, boss, right?
Well, that's got to be hard to get out from underneath the dad's shadow, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I remember going to different industry events, even though I'd met some colleagues, other attorneys in this industry, and it's great. It's great that we have a space where everybody is just so congenial.
Yeah.
But there
I
was
love that
definitely a
too.
few times where I'd introduce myself and see them again, and they're like, "Oh, you're Rich's son."
Right,
You know,
right,
"Oh,
right.
you're Rich's son."
It took a while, right?
It was one of those things, and Rich and I chuckled because I think it was last year at some point. He got introduced to somebody, and the
as the dad?
Yeah. "Oh, you're Steve's dad." You know, I said,
Finally.
table is turned. But yeah, he's incredible. I mean, just so gracious. He basically gave me the green light to do whatever I wanted to do. So with the business school education and kind of seeing what the corporate world was like, I wanted to apply kind of some of those.
Put them together, right?
Yeah, you know, how could we work smarter, quicker, be more efficient, you know, kind of retain the top level talent. And I've just been super blessed to recruit people, and now we're over 40 people as an organization, and it's been a wild ride. And Rich is still in the mix. He's usually first in the office. He's out there doing these things, and
That's
it's
so cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's,
Well, and
it's awesome.
you've kind of developed other verticals as well, right? You're with your collection business. too.
Yeah, we weren't doing collection work. Rich had never done it. You know, for me, I said, you know, why not?
So that's kind of your baby.
Yeah, Altera. Yeah, that team is, and that team's absolutely incredible. Again, it's just one of those situations where I've been blessed to really find great people that are, and given them an opportunity to bet on themselves. That's kind of how we structure things. We want hard chargers, people that want to have a hand in developing and growing things. And yeah, now that team it's just remarkable, the work that they do. I think just in the last 2 months, they've recovered over $1 million in debt for our clients in a 2-month period. I mean, just phenomenal work that they're doing. It's awesome.
Right. Well, it's got to be a blessing to see that because if you have your hand in that, so.
Yeah, I think one of the most rewarding things, just kind of being in this space. I mean, other than the work that we do, which, you know, I continue to develop different levels of appreciation for it. For me, my experience has been awesome to see where we've had attorneys come that have started out as law clerks, then have passed the bar, become an attorney, now been promoted to positions of leadership. Brittany Long's our director of engagement. She was hired as my assistant during the COVID period, and she's advanced. Tisha Lopez, she was hired. I hired her to help me start Altera, and now she's the director of administration for the whole organization. So it's great to see.
People are everything, right? I mean, a process
Yeah.
is a process, but right, do you have dynamic people? Do you have people that want to grow?
Exactly.
And you see, I mean, that's kind of your affirmation, right? Or confirming it's like, hey, we're doing something right here because obviously you have people that are here with you for a long period of time and they continue to grow.
Definitely. Yeah, we provide them the tools. I really consider that my job.
Yeah.
Now it's all about the people, because we don't sell. I mean, you understand. I mean, you sell
It's a service.
and I think, you know, the insurance product, I think it's a little too commoditized, but you're really a service, right?
Yes.
That's what you're doing, right? We don't, you know, what we sell, you can't really touch.
Right. Yeah.
It's not
a promise.
tangible.
It's a feeling that
Exactly.
like, are you covered? Are you good from you? It's like, are we protected?
Definitely.
Right, yeah.
But then who's the service provider? It's the people.
Yeah.
So we got to take care of the people. So for me, especially with our team now and the talent that we've been able to recruit and kind of how the team's vibing, it's just, that makes me feel like I'm doing something right when people are growing, they're advancing, they're starting families.
Yeah.
We have baby showers in our office. It seems like every other week.
And you guys are having a good time.
Definitely.
Like, you know, and that's not a bad, like sometimes it's like, oh, you're just playing.
That's
It's like,
in
no,
such
if
a
you're
good
doing
way.
something so well, it's kind of like being a professional athlete. Like when they go out on the field, they feel like they're playing.
Yeah.
Because, right, you've done the preparation and now it's time to execute, and you have all your key players. I mean, I've seen just from marketing, from everything, you guys are firing on all cylinders. And once you do, it's like, now let's go win.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, I always consider myself in anybody's situation, because I remember what it was like in corporate law, and there was always a thing where, you know, you can't
do this. Yeah.
Can't do this. You can't shine too brightly because you might rub somebody who's senior to you the wrong way, and people are jockeying for position.
Yep.
And been very intentional to not really allow that to happen. Kind of the environment is nobody's really spirited other. We operate as a group. When we rebranded the firm as Tinnelly Law Group, I was really intentional about that name. We're
Good
a team.
idea is a good
I love
idea,
that,
right?
Steve.
Yeah. We're a group, you know, so whether it's we have associates that give partners work. We have partners that get, you know, it's one of those things. Everybody, you know, pitches in to help out. And we definitely take the work seriously. I mean, the client's got to get served. The work product's got to be great. But at the same time, you got to enjoy the people that you're working with. You got to celebrate the wins.
And we're in this HOA space that can sometimes be a little bit dodgy, if you know what I mean.
Sometimes the issues that we deal with.
How do you work with
frustrating.
that, like for board members and specifically, right? Because hopefully we have some board members listening. But like, what would be your advice? We talk to a lot of boards and like, well, we don't want to talk to the attorneys because that's going to cost money.
Yeah,
right. It's kind of, and someone had said before, right? You think that it's expensive to hire a professional? It's like try hiring an amateur. Right?
Yeah.
It's only going to cost you more. So
Yeah,
what's your kind of, I don't want to say methodology, but like you've seen it all, I would imagine. So
well, one of the things that I always kind of let them know is just based on our insight. I mean, we're blessed. We have like 1,800 communities now that we represent. We have a ton of work that we're able to do. We don't need a client to have a bunch of legal issues or to have a bunch of debtors in order for us to.
You'd rather them get along, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of times I have to tell the board, no, stop doing what you're doing. But for those board members out there that say, the attorney, I understand it. I mean, I've seen situations before where attorneys have, because there's so much emotion in HOA work. Right, it's so people focused.
Well, it's their home, right? I mean, it's their castle, and
definitely,
and you're telling them they can't do something, right?
Exactly. Or this member is doing something, and it's really bothering a particular board member. Or there's some personal animosity or personal grievance, and I've seen some attorneys, unfortunately,
lean into that, right?
Lean into it, yeah. And it's a way, maybe unintentionally, but it's just they make a federal case out of something that's just so simple. And really, our job is to solve problems, right, and to snuff it out. So those, so I understand why it is that they might be a little reticent to use, right, the attorney. But big picture, when we look at, because we have clients that have been with our firms for decades, and when we look at them and say, okay, these clients that are never involved in litigation, never find themselves having to levy massive special assessments, stable, right? What is consistent or what is common? What's a common characteristic is that they understand their role is to make decisions based on the advice of experts that they've retained. It's like if you really the fiduciary word goes out, you're making decisions with other people's money.
Yeah.
So if you're, imagine you're, $1 million home community and you've got 300 homes, 300 units, plus the common areas, you're making decisions that affect a ton of money and assets.
Yeah.
Right. So as a volunteer, the code, case law, it all encourages boards to say, as volunteers, hire the experts. Yeah. You guys are making the decision, but that decision should be consistent with the advice of an expert. So these associations that we see are stable, that never really get into trouble, are the ones that kind of understand, hey, we're looking at this. Can you give us some strategic guidance? Is this an issue we should be concerned of? Right? Help us avoid the trouble rather than get us out of the trouble after we've already stepped into it. Right? We review their contracts before they start. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
spend the money up front to do a little bit of it. It's kind of like if you're going to get a new roof, like, get the roofing contractor's opinion. Don't make the assessment yourself.
Yeah, or they wanted to levy. I had a client wanted to levy a massive special assessment because their roof systems were failing and they were underfunded. And they said this is an emergency assessment, right? Because under the code, this is a life safety issue. I said, well, I can tell you whether or not you can levy an assessment for a life safety issue under the code. I can apply the law as a lawyer. That's within the scope of my license. But whether or not it's a life safety issue, I'm not qualified. So you need to hire an expert. If they give you that opinion, I can apply the law. And then what you've done is you've now done the due diligence, right? So to avoid all the consternation that's going to happen, potential legal challenges.
The Monday quarterback's coming, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of understanding that. So
if you do the process, you're going to satisfy the requirement.
Definitely. And
preemptively,
we see board members that try to shortcut that, or sometimes managers. I know they get pressured a lot by the board members. Well, hey, don't you go to all these classes with these boring lawyers? Don't you know the law? Don't you? And it's a really unfair position to put the managers in. But having the attorney in there to kind of give these recommendations as a preventative measure, kind of working in a true corporate counsel capacity, is what we find keeps the association from actually having to spend more legal fees than it should. One client in particular, gosh, when I met with them, I've been with them for 6 years now. I actually work with them personally. Their legal budget was, I think, 6 times what it's been now, year over year, what we've had to use, just because we've avoided things and not compounded problems. So it's kind of understanding that as a volunteer, make the decisions based on the advice of experts. If I was serving on my HOA board, not only am I an attorney, I'm an HOA attorney. I'm a specialist in this field. I'm uniquely qualified, right, to do
but
this.
you still need to get your experts.
But I would never, say, no, we're going to do this without the opinion of the association's counsel. If I didn't like the opinion of the association's counsel, I might motion to get a second opinion, but I'm certainly not going to say, no, as a volunteer, because now I've taken my volunteer hat off, right? So the liability protections that go along with it are now off.
Because we've seen that before, where they don't like the opinion of the attorney.
And then the opinion shop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, I heard a story about Tom Cruise where he was doing a movie, and his stunt coordinator said it was too dangerous. So he fired the stunt coordinator and got a new one to tell him yes.
Yeah.
So you can't just go to the next person to get that opinion.
There's actually a Court of Appeals opinion. It's a published case where Rich, my father, is cited in it, where the client Rich said no, the client wanted to do something. Rich said, no, you can't do that. The law doesn't allow for it. They said, goodbye, Rich.
Right.
We're going to find an attorney that agrees with us.
That agrees with
and,
us.
And in the court's holding, they actually cite Rich's name. They said, Attorney Tinnelly told them basically how foolish this was. And that's really what our job is to do. And any board members that are listening, what's the role of legal counsel? Legal counsel is really to tell you what it is that you need to hear, especially when it's not what you want to hear.
Right.
That's great. Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, you need to be told what you need to hear, especially when it's not what you want to hear, because our client really isn't the board; it's the corporation.
Right.
So the board fiduciary role to the corporation, we have ethical and professional responsibilities to the corporation. So anything that we advise the board has to be in the best interest of our client. So if the board says, "Oh, we want to file this lawsuit," whatever, if we think it's an absolute loser, we won't participate. Yeah. And if I've had this happen before, where a board member says, "Well, if you don't do this, then we're going to find an attorney who will." And our typical response is, just let me know where you want us to send your file. Yeah, I mean, that's,
and that's going back to the blessed of, the not needing every single client, and so you can do the right thing.
Well, that's also
but even beyond that, I mean, even when we're smaller and trying to grow, and I was sitting there and I was trying to stretch and do all these things, still, you can never compromise that because, especially in the capacity of an attorney, like your trust and credibility is everything.
Yeah.
So once you start, pilfering the common funds in order to go on some, war mission that this board member has this pet peeve against a homeowner or a contractor, and you're burning the client, that's just what we call bad juju. Yeah. It comes back to bite you.
Well, it's evident education is a key component of what you guys do. I mean, you can tell just by your passion for wanting to help. We see you out in the field, doing courses, doing these things, and it's right. You get these new board members that are, quote, volunteers, and there is such a wealth of knowledge that has to be acquired, and I don't think a lot of times that transfer of knowledge happens. So I think that probably keeps you more busy with getting those people up to speed. But it sounds like the longer you have them, the more you can counsel to make kind of more logical decisions, I guess you would say.
Definitely. Yeah, we need to be in partnership. We need to be the sixth board member at the table. So, from an educational standpoint for clients and for managers, I'll talk to both of them. But for clients, in that example that, I brought up where the board member calls us after they've already gotten into trouble. Like, why didn't you call us 6 months ago? Right? When we could have stopped this thing from happening. Well, we didn't want to, incur a charge for that. So, that $70 phone call or whatever it was, now you're going to spend $7 to $20,000 in legal fees. How foolish was that? On top of it, you got the community, in arms, like what's going on? So we have one of our fee structures. It's a pretty popular one where we discount our rates and we provide, free brief telephone calls. It's meant to encourage boards. Hey, we need to know what's going on in order for us to protect you adequately. But in addition to that, we give them a free meeting each year. Most clients utilize that for either a senior attorney or a partner at the firm. I do a lot of these to do board leadership seminars where we meet with the board for an hour and a half and we just cover 101s. Like, this is best practices. This is how, what your manager's role is. This is what your role is. This is, the trending issues that are facing your community, and just to kind of set the table and establish the partnership that way. And we found
then you have that
effective
relationship in advance, not when something goes wrong.
Yeah, they can understand what it is. I send it to the, who's the attorney. Steve needs to weigh in on this, right? Or Matt or anybody at our office. They need to weigh in on this because, pound penny of prevention, pound of cure, whatever the expression is. That's how we look at it. So we utilize that a lot. And then from the manager perspective, hats off to Ramona Acosta. She's our director of business development.
We love her. Yes.
Oh, she's incredible. PCAM basically has a doctorate in management. I met her when I was new in the industry. She's been a massive growth driver for our firm. She kind of was, hit a ceiling in the management game, and I still think I would put her up against, most junior attorneys, even some senior attorneys in our space as to who knows the law.
Right? She's been through. She's been through,
and she's super sharp. Yeah. And she's always loved education. She's been involved in our different industry organizations.
She's doing the PCAM courses and stuff, and a lot of the things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, to help managers. Yeah, we do that.
Who better than someone that's been, and we see this in the space too, right? A lot of managers that move over to what we say the vendor side, right?
Yep.
But what better way to really know what your client is experiencing to have been in their shoes.
Definitely.
So that's a huge asset.
And our attorneys too. I
Yeah.
mean, for our attorneys that are coming in and practicing in the space, like, hey, we have a different, we have a certain perspective or understanding. Like, this is how we provide the work product to the client. This is what they need to know. And one of the most impactful things that Ramona has been able to add to our team, and there's been a ton of them, is that she says, well, let me give you a perspective on what the manager is dealing with right now, their day-to-day, when they need the information, what type of information they need. So the insight she's been able to give in order to say, okay, this is your client psychology.
Yes.
Right. And so that you guys can understand it.
We run into that, right? Hey, for compliance, we need this information in order to take this to the carrier or whatever. But sometimes these managers, they don't have access to that, or they're dealing with a million other things. So how can you
hundreds
make
of emails a day. And a lot of them are nasty grams and all that. All that stuff, but for the manager training too in the last couple of years, and Ramona's, she's working on some additional stuff too. We're getting a ton of our lunch and learns and educational programs, our big legal symposium that we do in order to help managers get certified and then maintain their certification. It's one of those things.
Yeah, you guys have been building that 3 or 4 years now.
Or 3 or 4 years. Yeah, we're working on some other stuff as well too. But because honestly, for us is the board member. Rarely do we get to, and unfortunately, rarely do we get to have really a direct line with the board. A lot of times it goes through the manager, and I
we have the same.
Totally understand that, right? So so the manager's effectiveness and their understanding is basically. Our success is in large part dependent upon the manager's success.
So true.
And vice versa. So it's really is a spirit of partnership. So these educational efforts, we go to management companies or we hold them on our own. It's really to, especially with all the new managers entering the field, like this is how you can be more effective at your job so that you can do a great job for your client, look good in front of your client. And if we're working together, everybody wins. So internally and externally, we do a ton of that stuff because this area of law is constantly changing. That's one of the things I like about it, but there's so much, and people are so surprised when they get into it. Like,
when we got started, or before we got started, we were talking about that kind of, rewriting the CC&R or some of this, but you were talking a little bit about the law, how that supersedes the CC&R.
Yeah.
Just kind of high level, because I thought that was really interesting, because most people think, well, the CC&Rs are those governing documents dictate what we can and can't do, but all these new laws are coming in that supersede all that.
Yeah, Sacramento essentially dictates what we can and can't do. And this is, I've been in the industry, almost 14 years now. And just since I've been in, it's been compelling for me to take a look at it, right? The whole idea of a HOA when it was first developed is we want to privatize these amenities. We want to have condos, right? And there's going to be these shared common elements or common areas. So we're going to form a corporation, right? That's going to do that. And it's going to be directed by a board. Right. And theoretically, the membership elects the best and brightest right, that live in the community, right, and serve on the board, and they make decisions. And they're going to make decisions, and they're going to be confined and regulated by their internal contract or governing documents that everybody agreed to. Right. And if they want things to change,
they can change.
We're going to vote. We're going to change it. Yeah. Right. And
sounds like a great concept, right?
Private corporation, self-regulating, purely autonomous. And no, that's really not how we're viewed, right? So we're viewed now as housing providers and mainly now as quasi-governments. Yeah. And I understand the legislature's rationale and their perspective on that, especially with the election component of things, how it's elected by the membership, the decisions that we make. I totally get the quasi-government perspective of things. But because the legislature looks at us as quasi-governments, this whole idea of that we can control us, no. Right. That's why we see all these bills relating to, free speech rights and constitutional issues. And, basically every bill, well, not every bill, but the majority of them, right, that we've seen in the last few years operate something to the effect of, we don't care what the CC&Rs say. This is how it's going to be. Yeah. But the association can adopt rules around the edges, a variety of things, right? The right to legislation. They control our election process now. We have basically no discretion to control how our elections are conducted. It's just a different way of looking at it, which is understanding that and kind of looking at the role of the legislature. I know Matt Plax and our transaction partner Ramona as well. They're heavily involved in legislative efforts, and we kind of keep our thumb on the pulse of that. But that trend is going to continue. So that's one of the things we tell board members.
It's not going to go less. The always interesting thing to me, right? There's one person that has an issue, right? And then it gets adopted for all, 55,000 HOA.
Oh, totally.
And that law is not, it might work for good for this, HOA ABC, but then there's all these other ones. Some lawmaker or one of their friends gets burned in their HOA, and all of a sudden we got a new bill. But I have seen some instances, especially election-related legislation, where I said I can understand that because I've seen situations personally of the type the legislature is concerned about and wanting to avoid.
So some of it's good, but some of it is not good. We kind of joke that the legislature likes to shoot first and aim later.
Yeah.
Right? They adopt a bill and then we got to clean it up and we're left to figure it out. I mean, I guess it makes more work for attorneys.
Yeah, I guess,
should be thankful, but I mean, it makes the job tough. But we definitely look at that. And any board members need to understand that that's going to kind of continue to be the trend, is that we're going to be regulated through the code more so than internally what we want.
Well, Summer's all about health and wellness. I'm a little bit more on the technology side. I'm interested to see with AI, with some of this stuff that's coming in, how are you guys kind of addressing that, tackling that, from an efficiency, and then also you're advising your clients. I'm sure there's a lot of new things that people are putting their foot in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the AI stuff is interesting. So I just had dinner last night with one of our senior attorneys, Diane Peters. It was her year anniversary with the firm. She's actually speaking.
Love her.
I think it's for the CAI San Diego chapter. She's speaking. Her program is on AI and on other things. So she's done a little research on this.
Yeah, actually, Corey's speaking at that same event.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
No, it is. I mean, it's going to revolutionize how we work. I think it really does. It just, the whole thing with HOAs is the lack of communication, right? And just not having enough time, down to managers, to everybody, to be able to effectively communicate. We talked before, you have some automation, different things like that. But if you can get meetings recorded and information digested quicker and pushed out to people, I think we got to bring this temperature down, and everybody hates their HOA type feeling, right? Because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think the challenge is, the reason for that is, especially coming out of the pandemic, and now everything is like, listen, I'm taking my family on vacation next week. We're super excited about it.
Where are you going? Anywhere good?
We're going to Maui, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm taking them all. So it's my wife and I. It's our 15-year wedding anniversary.
Congratulations!
Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
To you and Sarah.
Yeah, we usually take the kids to Cabo, once or twice a year. We love Cabo.
Yeah.
It's like our second home, but we honeymooned in Maui, so we're taking the kids there. And
Nice.
We're gonna do all that, but we need new suitcases, right? And I know right now I can pull out my cell phone, and chances are I can get 4 brand new suitcases delivered by Amazon to my house by the end of the day. That expectation of immediacy, right, is everywhere.
Yeah.
So when homeowners have issues now, right, I want my problem solved now. I want it done right now. Manager, I sent you an email. Why is it that I don't have my parking pass already? That was like an hour and a half ago. Or why?
Yeah.
So, it creates these really unrealistic expectations. So, I mean, in terms of us being responsive and how we service and do those things, that's always kind of been the case. AI in the practice of law is kind of an interesting field. I mean, there's been attorneys that have been sanctioned because they've used AI to,
Yeah.
We always say it makes you
an
editor, not an author. So, but if you use it as an author, you got problems.
Yeah, and it's these. God, I was trying to remember the word that Diane told me. It's like hallucinations or something like that. Well, AI will like put in information that's not correct.
It wants to polish it up for you, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things that that can be leveraged, but big picture. Any board or manager understand, like, when you're making the decisions on behalf of this corporation affecting what for most people is the largest asset and investment that they have, you can't play fast and loose with this stuff, right? So, you have attorneys, you have insurance advisors for a reason. These are these types of things. And our only concern is, okay, are we going to use AI to adopt a new policy? Hey, AI, give me a contract that I can do or something along those lines. And then if something happens, right? Let's say something goes sideways, and heaven forbid it doesn't. Yeah. But we wouldn't have a job if things didn't go sideways.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And they go sideways. Usually when you least expect it. When you say, okay, well, who reviewed that contract?
Oh,
the manager.
Chat.
The manager or the board member engaged in the unlicensed practice of law. Well, I went on, Chat GPT for the contract or something along those lines. So that's, a conversation that we need to have. But I think really, what is the lesson to be learned for AI? People want things more efficiently, cost efficiently, and time efficiently. And there's I think there's a potential to do that.
Yeah.
But still, actually having a human being that's licensed, that you can say, yes, I relied on the advice of an expert, not on some machine learned program.
I think that's what it's going to come down to, right? Because all that stuff is going to be Amazoned, right? Like every task will just be done quickly, right? It's that, are you good? Are you protected, right? Do you have that opinion? Because you need that trusted person that says, yes, I've reviewed this, and this is the take
totally,
of it.
And that person's insured.
Yes.
So if they made a mistake, you've got that, right?
Exactly.
So that's what the role of a volunteer director That's what you're
working
supposed
with your
to do.
trusted partners, right?
Exactly.
That's
right. Making sure they're insured. So if something happens, basically your job is to shift exposure and risk away from the community.
Yeah.
Right. To the greatest extent that you can. We assist them with that, but still them relying on our advice, that's another measure by which they can do that. And that's their role is there to do. And a lot of board members think their role is to get things as cheap as possible or to keep dues low.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the job of a board member.
We know that too well.
Keep dues low.
Let's talk about when they're proud that they haven't raised their dues in 5 to 10 years.
Oh,
right?
Because nothing goes up, right? Nothing.
It's just remarkable to
Bad
me.
idea.
Yeah, sometimes I have clients that do that. Oh, you're gonna love working with us. We haven't raised our assessments in 10 years, and we're like, oh my gosh, that is not good.
Yeah.
You know, there's deferred maintenance. You know, the reserves are underfunded, and the legislature's paying attention to this. Yeah. One of the themes from our symposium this year was the legislation that's being enacted out in Florida. Because they're concerned, right? After the Champlain Towers collapse, they're concerned about board members.
I think it was just a 4-year anniversary, wasn't it? I just thought, I know, it's crazy.
Nuts, right? Because a board just sit there and said, okay, well, we don't have the money. We really can't do anything. We see a lot of board members kind of doing that. Now, your job really is to make sure that you're maintaining assets as efficiently as you can and you're protecting assets.
Yeah.
And you need your experts to do that. And if you need to raise assessments, you need to raise them incrementally every year. And that avoids the one client I told you about that has to levy a massive, I think it was like $30,000 per unit special assessment. So, but then compound that, there's going to be so many legal fees of people fighting. It's just wasted value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
When so you get nothing. Yeah. You get nothing out of it except a bigger bill.
Meanwhile, they've had to deal with $100,000 annually for the last 5 years of repair expenses. Yeah. Right. So they're just bleeding a slow death. So it's just advising, like letting them know that, hey, you guys need to be, pay more attention. Your job here is to really to maintain assets and your professionals around you. Those are the ones that are going to help you to do that. And if you need to make an assessment increase or increase your reserve contribution,
do it. Yeah.
You need to do that. That's your job. Right. That's your job.
Well, I'm gonna use you as a plug then. So obviously, you talk about deferred maintenance of physical stuff, but now we're talking about insurance rates going through the roof, right? Mm-hmm. So what have you been experiencing and advising when your clients, they're getting hit with some of these really large increases?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some clients have to levy, emergency assessments, based on it. I think the legislature, if you take a look at it, I mean, I know the emergency assessment language got changed this year, so it's not only life safety conditions, but it's also hazardous circumstances that are on the property, which I think the legislature says we need to relax the language to allow boards to obtain the funding that they need in order to do these things. So, that's there's a few things where I really like the trend of legislation. This is one of them. I think the legislature understands that board members need to be able to get the revenue and the assets that they need from their membership
in order to effectively maintain it.
Because before that was the excuse like, well, we had a 300% premium increase. We can't levy a special assessment that big without membership approval. Who's going to vote on that? I want to pay more money. Right? Nobody's going to do that. So. Okay, so before the emergency assessment language, well, this was unforeseeable, right? So we can use that. But then, what about
the next year? Yeah, you can't.
Right?
So which law do we violate, right? That or kind of, what do we need to do? So so we're seeing that, and we're encouraging them to do these things, and we're taking a look at things and being a little bit more creative, and I say a little bit more relaxed than we would have been just by if you focus on kind of the trend of the legislature and how they're looking at things. We think that we are on the side of public policy when it says, listen, if boards need more money to actually do their legal requirements, right, we need to find a way to get that money. And in the code, it already exists. The board shall levy assessments sufficient to perform the association's obligations. We're obligated to carry this insurance.
Right.
We got to find a way to get the money.
Right.
Otherwise, that's a breach of duty right there. So, so that we're looking at that, but I mean, hopefully some insurance relief goes. I'm curious to know if you've got any insight on that. Is there anything going on with that?
You know what? It continues to be a challenge, right? The carrier, especially after this, the LA fires, right? We're talking, I mean, we keep throwing around these crazy numbers, but right, it could be over $200 billion. And really the last fires up right in Northern California, I think only 30% of those houses are rebuilt after 8 years. Mm-hmm. So this is going to have such a long tail and such a big impact. I think if anything, what I look to is like what's happening in Florida, right? They're a few years ahead of us of a total catastrophe, a total meltdown. Mm-hmm. And now what are they trying to do to kind of stabilize it and rebuild it? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of uncharted territories. Here we have the California Fair Plan, right? But that's a government-backed program that's supposed to be last resort. That all the carriers are going to pay for, and you're trying to bolster that up to try to patch something together to take care of these larger HOAs. Mm-hmm. But, we're talking about government. I always say, if you want something done right, you have the government do it, right? Like, it's not going to be better and cheaper,
No.
right? It's going to have more bloat and a bunch of regulations. Like, it's with, if
strings attached to it and all the...
If there's a disaster, you want to be waiting for that to come through. So for HOAs and board members, right, that it should be the last resort. If there's something else, even if it's financially more expensive, you need to protect that asset, right? Some people are like, well, let's just get the cheapest, like you said, the cheapest we can. Okay, you got cheap insurance. So now something happens and there's nothing.
Yeah.
Now who's going to pay for it? All this membership that's been paying money is now going to still have to pay even more because the coverage isn't going to be there. So
Exactly.
It's a little scary overall, right? I mean, we don't see a ton of relief. And we were hopeful after, at the beginning of the year, okay, things are kind of settling down, and then you have this whole new, paradigm.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there is a ton of loss. I mean, we looked at Maui. I think Maui was going to be like $5 billion. Now you're talking $200 billion.
Yeah.
Like just exponentially of what it is. So there's just a lot of stuff that hasn't been unpacked yet. But that goes back to your thing of, right, keep raising the assessments. Be aware that this cost is going to continue to increase.
Totally.
Like, it's not going back down. It's only going up further. So if you haven't seen a huge hike, like, that might be in the cards in the near future. So
you should absolutely do it. I think it's unrealistic for any board to sit there and say, I mean, just with inflationary costs and everything along those lines, that our assessments are going to stay stagnant over a multi-year period. It's just not. It's not
have it deteriorate anything, right? Like, in the sense of deferred maintenance, any of this stuff.
I mean, if you defer maintenance, but then because of the deferred maintenance, you're actually going to end up needing a multiple more. Of what you need. People, I had one client that said, why do we need to repaint? The paint looks good, when they don't understand underneath the paint is all the dry rot, right? So how'd you paint it when you needed to, right? Because the paint lost that aspect, that element to it, that protective element to it. How'd you paint it when you need to? It would have been a painting project. Now it's a reconstruction project, right? So kudos to you for, deferring that. They just don't, a lot of times they just don't really understand that. And that's why we really try to, hammer it home to them. Like, you're making decisions with other people's money affected. Yeah. I mean, you were a corporate director and you understand this is what you need to do. And the professionals in this industry, a lot of times say, oh God, that's expensive. Like, do we need to do that? They're just trying to get the work. Like, no, we've seen this stuff. This is all we swim in all the time. And our job is to strategically give you guidance. So you might have nominal assessment increases over the year, but it prevents the massive swings and the whole smokes. And then then the lawsuits come, the insurance claims get filed.
And then it's just exponentially more.
Definitely.
I know we were working with a construction company that said the same thing. They're like, this HOA put this off for 4 years, and the cost tripled because now you have to go repair things that were before it would have just been a simple, hey, let's fix this thing up and let's keep moving forward. So that preventive, it's kind of like your car. If you don't change the oil, it's going to cost a lot to replace the entire engine versus just change it every 3,000 miles.
Go to the dentist. You know what I mean? Go get it clean, right? So you don't have to do those things. And that's really what you need to do. And I understand that raising assessments is not a popular thing, but these board members, right, they need to understand, like, you're here making these decisions. And if you address and approach it in the right way, it's something that you can actually leverage to garner respect and trust from your membership rather than hiding behind it. Hey, this is where we're at. This is what we need to do. This is the concern, and we're doing this. And of course, in every community, there's going to be the naysayers. We know how to do it better. We know, okay, well, why don't you run for the board? Well, I don't have the time for that. Okay, well, then just be quiet. You know what I mean? Go away.
So everybody wants free legal advice. And you had mentioned before, there's a lot of new managers coming into this industry. For what would be kind of your advice to them? Because, right, it is, we see managers that are they're new to the industry, and they're trying to tell a board that's seasoned, right? That's homeowners that may have some strong personalities, and you have this new manager that isn't strong, and how can they help to convey that? Is that bringing you guys in? Is that thing? What's your thoughts on that?
You could bring the suit in. A lot of times
bring the suit in. I like that.
A lot of times, managers, because it's a customer service position, and we want to make our clients happy. And a lot of times, I think the biggest challenges managers have are not necessarily with homeowners, but with their own boards. And I think a lot of the times they kind of compound the problem themselves by
trying to do it themselves, or not establishing boundaries. Right. Well, let the board. You pick up your phone on a weekend. And you're training your board. It's okay.
I always make the joke, like, if you're at a picnic bench, right, in a park, and you're eating lunch and there's a pigeon, and you throw a breadcrumb on the ground, the pigeon eats it, and then what does the pigeon?
That is a good analogy.
It comes right back. Right. So not establishing those boundaries. And I know managers, we attain all this education, we do all these things, but then the board might be leaning on you. Well, why can't you do this? Why can't you tell us what the law is? And Ramona, she's fantastic at really conveying these to managers. And one of the reasons why she loves to teach is she'll explain to them, like, I have certifications that I have to maintain.
Yeah.
This is not within the scope of my certification, right? As volunteers, we have professionals that we can utilize to give you that opinion, but I'm not going to jeopardize my certifications. I can't expose, and I hope you can respect that. And more often than not.
That's a good statement, because it happens with you too, right? It's like you have an ethical code because you're licensed, right? That you need to maintain. Same thing with us, right? That's a great.
I'm not going to. I'm going to stay in my lane.
That's a line.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the board, we always, this way we tie it to the corporate governance model, right? The board is the board. They're there to set long-term strategy, make high-level decisions. The manager operates as the CEO or the COO. The manager is not the
facilitator.
Chief, right? They're not the chief legal officer. They're not the chief financial. I mean, they've got all these other tools, risk management, whatever these things in. So they need to lean on their C-suite, right? And that's what managers need to do. If board members are having a tough time making decision, one of the greatest things about our industry, it's such a big industry, but it's such a small industry. We've got really, really great people in this industry. And even, we'll spitball with other law firms as well. We're all congenial, but managers lean on the professionals that you've hired. Hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
Can you help? So many times managers will call and say, hey, listen, I'm not authorized to incur any attorney's fees for this. Don't worry about it. How could I help?
Yeah.
Right. How could I help? Do you need me to send somebody an email? You need me to call the board member and kind of explain the situation? So definitely lean on the partnerships that you have, your business partners, so to speak. And one of, I think, the best ways to think about that is sometimes we hear new managers talking and they're saying, oh, for a law firm, who do you use? Yeah. Right. Who do you use? Right. It's almost like it's a tool. We're not really a
car
tool.
wash.
We're partners. Who do you work with? Right. We're here to work with you. Right. We have a vested interest in our client's success. A lot of it depends on you. So if you need something, let us know, even if it's off the meter, whatever the circumstance is, because a lot of times that's what,
great, because I don't know if all law firms operate that way, right? So I'm glad to hear that. And we talk about getting your bullpen, right? Like a manager needs their bullpen, right? They need their pitcher,
of their
they
experts,
need their catcher, right? They're experts.
Yeah, they need a team.
Yeah, and develop that relationship in advance of the need.
Yes,
right. Because a lot of people go, okay, now we need this. What do we do? It's like, no. You need to be cultivating those relationships. Yeah. To your point, there's so many good business partners out there, right? Get to know them. Don't just go to lunch, but establish a relationship.
Well, I think one of the huge things now is just with new manager and kind of how generational changes have happened. Don't be afraid to use the phone.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know email is there and everything's in email, and we have to go back. But especially attorneys, hey, I need this. I need help on this, and then we say, okay, well, let's have a quick call, and then there's 30 emails that go back and forth. It's so inefficient. If there's an issue, hey, can we block out 10 minutes? We can knock everything out. The charge is going to be less. I could actually understand what the real issue is. Yeah. And a lot of times it's something simple. Yeah. We see so many times where we get an assignment, can't really get the manager on the phone, or they're not available to talk about it. And we do all this work and it goes to the board and say, well, this isn't even relevant to what and then we're trying to wait, and it doesn't look good for anybody. Right, so don't be afraid. Yeah. Especially if you're talking to our attorneys. I know you'll enjoy working with our attorneys. Yes. I know attorneys can be dry sometimes, but our people are great. But don't be afraid to use the phone. I know email a lot of times.
I think it's 3 emails and then pick up the phone, right? It's like a simple sales technique of and that's even for the manager. They have so many different things they're dealing with. Like, nip this and let's get to the next step.
Totally. Yeah. And some of the big GMs and some of the largest communities I work with, they're in a great habit where they'll give me a call and say, hey, I'm going to send you an email. Yeah. I just want to set the table here a little bit for you. Mm-hmm. If you need to have a follow, and it's just, it's so good. And usually there's no charge for that call. Yeah. Have the insight. Okay, I can get you what you need a lot quicker, rather than sitting there saying, what do they mean by this? What did they mean by that? And then you
because you're really starting to interpret, right? Two sentences into this whole thing of what you need to, what the remit is.
There's so many nuances that can come out of an actual phone conversation, right? And the underlying actual issue that could change the way that you might make a recommendation.
Oh, totally. And it goes back to because it's a game of telephone. A lot of times, let us talk to the board member so we have a complete understanding, because all we do is sell time as attorneys. That's our product.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. So if you give us the tools we need to do the thing, less time, it's more effective. Everybody wins, and we're able to service more clients and get more work done. So it makes the situation easier. So that would be my encouragement to managers: lean on your business partner relationships. And when it comes to attorneys, even to tell the attorney, I only have 10 minutes. If you've got a long-winded attorney, we understand there's some of those. I only got 10 minutes. We got to get right to the heart of it. I don't want to hear about, the kids or anything. I got to get to it. But don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Usually that's the best way to go about it.
Well, we appreciate your time. We could keep talking forever. We're going to definitely have to have you back. I love your enthusiasm about wanting to teach and make things better. I think it's great. And
the way you're leading your team is.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
You're
one of our favorites for sure. So we have
thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. I can't believe we're done already. I could just sit here and hang.
We still got a little bit of time.
It's fine.
No, I want to talk
easy.
just about your personal life and your kids. I know you have. Give me the stats. I mean,
the ages and the.
Yeah, they're 4 kids, all boys except for 3 of them. So,
okay,
that's one of those things. I love my girls. Yeah, 13-year-old girl, 11-year-old boy, 9-year-old girl, 7-year-old girl. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So funny when you said that. I was like, wait, I thought he has mostly girls.
yeah. That's what I like to say. And they're rad. They're all in different activities. My oldest, she's got her eyes set on being a lawyer. I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah, we'll see. They're doing great in school, and just I love my kids, and my wife is. I like to say I'm good at what I do. My wife is much better at what she does.
Yes,
she is an absolute rock star, powerhouse of a mom. So
awesome.
Any good successful man has that woman that really makes him think. Yeah. My wife always says that. She's like. She lets me lead, but she's like, he might control the head, but I control the neck.
Yeah.
Right. You need to make sure that you're supporting your mate and doing what you need to do so that she can be just.
Yeah, and she's gracious. I mean, meeting with boards and have to work a lot, and sometimes I'm out and doing those things, and she holds down the fort and does all that, and it's fantastic. So blessed to have her in 15 years this year. It's
congratulations.
Enjoy Maui.
Yes,
looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Well, what do you got? Give me a little funny story about one of your kids lately. Just something that's just lit you up. And I always say, like, I find the things where you want to still remain childlike, right? Where you see just the optimism in them. You got anything? I mean, I can share one, but your wheels are thinking right now. But just
I'm trying to think. Just a funny story about one of the kids. All the stories that are coming to my mind right now where they're damaging or destroying something.
Well, that sounds about right. With 4 of them, I can only imagine.
No, our kids are, our kids are great. What's crazy is, the school that they're in through COVID with the homeschooling, we decided to move them to private school. My wife was the motivator there, and it's been awesome. My boy in particular, he's tapped on to lead mass a bunch, and never, thought that. I mean, we're always a religious family, but never super strong in doing that. But he's kind of. So what's crazy is how you can learn from your kids, and he's kind of really had an interest in that, and that's kind of made us dive a little bit deeper into that, and it's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so
I love that.
It's funny when you know how goofy of a kid he is, and then he's up at the front,
right?
That's got to make
next
you
to the
super
father.
proud.
Oh yeah, it's cool, and he's reading this stuff, and he enjoys it. So yeah, I mean that's the thing I can think of.
Isn't it
funny.
such a? I mean, I'm going to put you aside for a second because that dad feeling is so isn't it so amazing to watch them kind of find what they're passionate about without you having to, it's not that you're affecting it, but you're not driving that, and they find something completely
No, and it wasn't
new.
anything like that. Yeah, it's just nice for, them to be recognized, and for, the faculty at the school to say like, no, this is somebody that we want to be able to lead, and then to have them step up in front of hundreds of people and do that.
And then they get that exercise, right? They do that. They get more excited about it, and it just continues to grow. So
yeah, awesome. You definitely learn a lot by seeing them take on challenges, even small. My girls, they're all in dance now, and my oldest, for a while, she was trying to get her aerial. It's a acrobatic move that she needs to do, and for her it was tough to get, and she thought that she wouldn't be able to continue to advance with her team because you have to have this aerial. And for days and days and days, or it was actually weeks, and working with my wife, and then she'd be doing it at home, and I'd have to let her like just keep working at it, just keep going. And I remember mom was at the studio, and she had her camera out, and she was recording. Sophia's her name, when she was practicing, and she actually got on film the first time she stuck the aerial. Yeah, I remember I was at actually an industry event when it happened, and I got the video, and I just broke down immediately.
Awesome.
Right? Yeah. So because she's all crying, all the girls are hugging her and all that stuff. So
but look, she worked
those
so
ones.
hard at that, and
that's
she
what I told her.
accomplished it, right?
Exactly.
And it makes all your work worthwhile, right? Because it's like you're going to provide for that and be able to. And I love that you say that you want to be there with the family, because I can imagine attorney. you get locked in a room for hours on end.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
you got to, someone said like you only get 18 summers with your kids.
Yeah.
Like it goes fast. Like you know that. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my wife, she has her perspective. I mean, I'm focused because, I like to think, hey, I've got everybody at the office I need to take care of, and everything's running 1,000 miles an hour now in all these different directions.
Yeah.
But she's the one that just with like next week, for example, she says, no, you're taking a week off. We're doing this because we only have like 4 more years of Sophia being in this house. And when she said that, I was like,
right.
oh my
That
God.
hits home.
Yeah.
That hits home.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for coming, man. We appreciate
this is
you.
great.
Love having you.
We'll do this again soon. So.
This is awesome. Thank you guys.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Next Level Living podcast. We will see you next time. Bye.